Welcome back to Chapter to Cinema, the podcast where we deep dive into book to screen adaptations, explore the magic and the mayhem sometimes of bringing a story from page to screen. Today we are talking about the quirky offbeat movie made in China based on the book of the same name. This one's a fun, crazy ride, so buckle up. Let's kick things off with the basics. Made in China is the story of Raghu Mehta, a struggling Gujarati entrepreneur who's always on the lookout for a get rich quick scheme. The movie takes us through his journey as he stumbles upon a special product that he thinks will change his life, a Chinese remedy that's supposed to enhance virility. The book, while focusing on similar themes of ambition, jugaad, and the entrepreneurial hustle, is a bit more nuanced in its humor and character development. So, how does the movie hold up? Raj Kumar Rao plays Raghu, and honestly, he's the heart and soul of the film. He brings his usual charm and versatility, but did the film give him enough material to work with? Now, that's debatable. In the book, Raghu's struggles are more layered. He's just not a guy trying to make a quick buck, but someone who's dealing with deeper issues of identity, belonging, and failure. The movie, however, leans more into the comedic side of things. It exaggerates Raghu's naivety and desperation, which works for the laughs, but we lose some of that emotional depth. As for the supporting cast, Mouni Roy as Raghu's wife Rukmini brings the glamour, but a character doesn't have much to do. In the book, Rukmani has more of a voice, offering quiet support and frustration. The film reduces her to a background player, which feels like a missed opportunity. Then, of course, there's Boman Irani as the sexologist Dr. Vardi. He is hilarious, but his character is more of a caricature in the movie, whereas the books gives us a bit more insight into his eccentric wisdom. We can't talk about Made in China without mentioning Paresh Rawal. He plays the role of Tanmay Shah, a seasoned and somewhat cynical businessman who acts as a mentor to Raghu. Now, Paresh Rawal is known for his impeccable comic timing, but here he brings a mix of humor and wisdom. His character pushes Raghu to think bigger, challenging him to step out of his comfort zone, but not without adding his own sarcastic flavor to the advice. In the book, this mentor role is a little less pronounced, but in the film, Raval really adds an extra layer to the mentor and mentee dynamic, making his scenes most engaging. Oh, let's not forget the music. The soundtrack of Made in China really adds to the film's quirky, playful tone. Tracks like Sanero keep the energy high, and the music, much like the movie, is colorful and catchy, fitting perfectly with the film's eccentric vibe. Now let's talk about the creative liberties. The movie is definitely a more slapstick, exaggerated version of the book. The humor in the novel is more subtle, more situational, whereas the film goes all in all larger than life situations. The absurdity works, but only if you're willing to suspend your disbelief. One major difference is the pacing. The book spends more time building up Raghu's frustrations and failures, allowing readers to really feel the weight of his struggles. The movie, on the other hand, speeds through these moments to get to the main plot, the Chinese trip, the magical product, and Raghu's big entrepreneurial adventure. Also, the movie takes some liberties with the endings, making it a bit more neatly packaged and optimistic than the book. In the novel, there's a strong sense of realism. Raghu's journey isn't wrapped with a shiny bow. He faces consequences for his actions, and there is a more somber reflection on what it means to be an entrepreneur in a cutthroat world. So, what worked well in the adaptation, you might ask? For starters, the comedy did. The movie leans into its quirky, almost absurd tone, and for most of the part, it works. The chemistry between Rajkumar Rao and Boman Irani is solid, and the film does a good job of creating a vibrant, colorful world that feels distinctly Indian with a twist of China. But, and this is a big but here, if you're a fan of the book like me, the book is more thoughtful and has a satirical approach. So, if you enjoy such readings more, you might feel like the movie skims on some of that depth. The film simplifies complex characters, and some of the plot points feel rushed and overly simplified. The entrepreneurial spirit, which is at the heart of the book, gets a bit lost amidst the humor and antics. Now let's get into the real fun stuff. How do different mediums, books and film, affect storytelling? Made in China is a perfect case study on how a book's quieter, more introspective moments often get lost in the adaptation to screen. In a movie, you have to show rather than tell, and sometimes that means sacrificing the inner monologues and nuanced emotions that a book can offer. In the movie, Raghu's journey is a lot more visual. His awkward encounters, his struggle to sell his product, his fish out of water experience in China, it's all very much on the surface. Meanwhile, the book gives us more time to sit with Raghu's thoughts, feel his frustrations on a deeper level. The movie, by necessity, speeds through these movements, which can be a sign of both strength and a weakness. And now for some fun trivia. Did you know that Raj Kumar Rao actually went to China as a part of his preparation for the role? He spent time there learning about the business culture, trying to understand the real life dynamics between Indian and Chinese entrepreneurs. And here's a little behind the scenes scoop. Many of the quirky entrepreneurial products showcased in the film were inspired by real life products that have taken off in China and other markets. Yes, some of these wild inventions actually exist. Not to mention his body language and the way he put on weight to gain that little paunch and start looking like a Gujarati businessman. To sum it up, Made in China, the movie is fun, over the top adaptation. It works if you are in mood for a light-hearted entertainment. It doesn't fully capture the depth or the wit of the book, but it's an enjoyable watch nonetheless. Raj Kumar Rao and Boman Irani's performances keep the energy up. And while the film takes creative liberties, it still tells a story of ambition, entrepreneurship, and the quirks of cross cultural business. If you are a fan of the book, you might miss some of the novel's subtleties, but the movie has its own charm that's worth exploring. And that's it for today's episode of Chapter to Cinema. What did you think of this movie? Did it do justice to the book, or did you feel it could have delved deeper? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to share and subscribe. Do stay tuned, for we'll be back soon with another book adaptation to discuss. Thank you so much for joining us.